Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. It's so great to see you here. Oh my gosh, here we are, August 2016, almost the end of the summer. I cannot believe it. Where the heck did the summer go? I demand more time. It just went too fast. I was just talking to my husband yesterday, and I was trying to figure out what have we done the last 2 or 3 months? We could not remember. It's gone by so fast. So I am asking right now, please, let's slow time down just a little bit more so I can talk about in January on our show the great accomplishments of 2016. I'm still waiting to finish all those great accomplishments for 2016. What about you? I'm so glad you're on the show. My name is Lynnis Woods-Mullins, and this is the Wellness Woman Show. It is a show all about women, my favorite topic, and the things that they are doing to thrive in their life. Many of the women on this show have gone through some kind of adversity, some kind of trauma that took them to that aha moment, that time where they decided, you know what, I need to make a change. I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of feeling this way. And I want to do something different so that I can really step up and show up in my life. So today we have with us a woman who has done just that. Not only has she decided to show up in her life and to take control of the things that were bothering her, about things that were going on with her body and her life, she has created something that can impact other lives, men and women. And I'm really honored to have her here today because I think she's done some fantastic work. We have with us Deanna Hansen. Deanna, welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. It's so wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much, Lynnis. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, everybody kind of read a little bit about you in the bio that's there, but I want to hear from you. As is tradition in all of my shows, I decided that you are the expert in you. So you should introduce you.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
My name is
Tell us about you. Tell us about you,
okay.
And how you came to create this fantastic philosophy of people basically taking charge of their lives and getting in shape.
Okay, so today I'm 47 years old. And
oh, okay, wait. Happy birthday.
Oh, I don't mean actually today. I mean like now. This is great.
Okay, I could say cut, but I can't because we're live, so oh well.
So in my 20s, I was training to become an athletic therapist. And I learned all of the things that I was supposed to do to have a fit body and to take care of myself. And I was applying that, but I was really struggling. I was 50 pounds overweight, struggling with anxiety, depression, addiction. And I was doing the work. You know, I was working really hard. I was running, I was doing Tai Bo, I was changing the way I was eating, but yet my body was actually getting bigger. So, I learned that the rules of weight loss weren't applying to me. I should have been much smaller than I was. And yet I was still accumulating more size, more anxiety, more pain. And this one day when I was 30, this was the turning point and the seed for what has become. I was really struggling. I had made some major changes in my life, and my anxiety attacks were really ramping up. So this one anxiety attack was so scary. I actually thought I was going to die. I was literally feeling paralyzed. I couldn't catch my breath. So for some reason, I dove my hand into my abdomen, and in that moment, what I experienced first was pain. But the pain was calming. It brought me back down to my center. And I was like, okay, no, I'm breathing. I'm alive right now. I'm not going to die in this very moment. So, caught my breath and really became aware of how the pain was calming. But then what I also noticed was that my tissue felt marbled, like with scar tissue. And I had already been a body worker for years at that point. And I was very successful in my practice because I had good, strong hands and I knew how to work through people's scar tissue, but primarily their backs, legs, neck, where we typically have pain. Never had I had any injuries or surgeries in my abdomen, yet here this tissue felt marbled with scar tissue. And suddenly I realized, no wonder when I'm coming home from a 5-mile run, dripping wet with sweat, my belly is still cold. No wonder nothing's changing when I'm doing all this work. So I started exploring. And for about 45 minutes that first night, I was just literally exploring intuitively in my belly, in the tissue. And it was calming. And it was a beautiful experience. So the next day I woke up and I was a little tender from what I had done, but I felt centered and I felt calm. So I went to work. And all I could think of that day at work was, oh my gosh, I want to get home and I want to explore again in my tissue. So the next night I came home and I did the same thing. And it was amazing, because it was like I was communicating with parts of myself that I had lost from a long time before. And after about 45 minutes of the second night, when I stood up, I really felt different. I felt taller. And I went to the mirror and I literally started to cry, because my belly was flatter than it had looked in years. And you have to understand, yeah, I'm very extreme with what I do. So I was doing 400 sit-ups a day. I was doing Taebo, running aerobics. I was really working hard to try and change my center, and it wasn't changing. In 2 days of doing this, suddenly it's flatter. So this became my new addiction. So every night I would come home and I would, excitedly be working on myself. And after 2 weeks, my chronic low back pain was going away. My anxiety was lifting. I was actually just waking up excited, because I kept uncovering these things about myself and I kept seeing these positive movements forward. So I started flipping my patients on their backs and I started working in their abdomen, and I started having phenomenal results. I began attracting other therapists because I was having results with in very little time, where other therapists had been working for years with patients and they weren't getting results. So this was 16 years ago. And it's evolved to a full bodywork practice that I call fluid isometrics. So that's a technique that I actually teach therapists to do. But my real passion was always to teach people how to self-care. So along the way, I tried teaching people to use their hands like I did in their own tissue, but there's a lot of limiting factors to that. So block therapy really arose as a way to teach a self-care version of what I was doing in the treatment room. And it's a full body technique that basically melts through scar tissue and compression, which acts like scar tissue, resulting from incorrect posture and breathing. So basically over time, as we age, gravity's making us shorter and wider. And we age in a forward rotational way. So we're not perfectly balanced. We're dominant on one side. So we tend to wind down over time. And that's really how we know the body to be as it gets older. With that, we experience it, whether it's disease or pains or a greater issue controlling our weight, emotional trauma, like all these different things are caught up in the tissue called fascia. That's the tissue that I work in. The fascia is the connective tissue that connects us from head to toe. And, the world is still on the amazingness of this tissue, because it is really the architecture of everything in the body, and it holds and stores emotion and memory. And basically it connects every single one of our 100 trillion cells together. So as we age and we collapse, that fascia is going to hold us out of alignment with the force of up to 2,000 pounds per square inch, which if you think about that, that's incredible. If we've been sitting in front of a computer 30 years in this forward compressed position, our body is literally magnetically sealed in that alignment, with gravity continuing to drive us down. And because we aren't conscious, been taught how to breathe properly, we're breathing from the muscles of the upper chest, which is really starving our system from oxygen. When we learn to breathe properly, we feed the body up to 600% more oxygen than when we breathe through the muscles of the upper chest. And just like the brain, oxygen is the most important nutrient for every single one of our cells. So we have this beautiful mechanism inside of us, and it's free. When we learn how to start breathing properly and feeding our cells oxygen, our entire physiology changes. Yet it's lost, it's blocked away from our conscious awareness because of the collapse over time from gravity. So block therapy is really a way to undo those blocks, to decompress the areas that have been compressed, that are blocking blood and oxygen flow to cells, and to breathe life back into cells again so we can thrive. And we can literally take time out of tissue. So as we go through time, we become shorter and wider. There's a time-space continuum, basically. We add time in, we decrease in our internal space. Block therapy puts the space back into the tissue, thereby taking the time out. And it really is regenerative. And I mean, I'm myself, as well as thousands of other people now that are doing block therapy, know the phenomenal benefits, and it crosses every border, from your physical body to your emotional health to the way that you process information. When our brain is more oxygenated, it functions differently than when it's clouded and it's hungry. Even when we're trying to lose weight and get control of our system, when we start feeding our cells oxygen, we're satisfied, because that's really what they're looking for. It's not food. We jump to carbohydrates because it's that fast burning fuel. But really, when we feed our body oxygen through proper breathing, our cells are getting what they need first and foremost. And that inevitably changes the way we feed ourselves.
You know, that's amazing. I'm glad you're talking about the breathing, because I've said this before. We are basically a nation of non-breathers. We walk around holding our breaths. In fact, those of you right now who are listening to us on iHeartRadio or iTunes or SoundCloud or whatever platform you're listening to, if you stop right now, I bet you'll realize you're not really breathing. You're kind of like taking those short breaths. But when you talk about breathing correctly, let's talk about that a little bit. What is actually breathing correctly? Because I know most of us don't breathe correctly.
Yes, and breathing correctly means breathing from the diaphragm. So if you were to look at a baby, a healthy baby, you see their belly rise and fall. What happens over time is pain, fear, and stress cause us to reactively hold the breath. We also, I was a dancer. I know you were as well. I was a dancer when I was younger. And you know, you're told to hold your stomach in, hold your belly in. But you know, if we're holding the belly in, we're going to have to breathe from different muscles than where we're supposed to breathe. Because if we're breathing right, when we inhale, the belly should be extending outward, and then we should be squeezing the belly small as we exhale, creating this dynamic, constant movement in the core. So that is where core work comes from, is from proper breathing. Doing sit-ups, like again, I used to do 400 sit-ups a day, and it made my belly bigger. I became shorter in there, and the tissue moved outward because it has to go somewhere. When we're breathing diaphragmatically, the reason it feeds the body that much more oxygen is because at the base of the lungs is where 70% of the oxygen receptor sites reside. They're called alveoli. If we're breathing through the muscles of the upper chest only this far, then we're not bringing the air deeply enough into the lungs to reach all of those receptor sites. So we're literally, you know, missing the boat on oxygenating our body, as well as when we learn to exhale fully, we're moving the waste. And the exhalation is actually the most important phase of the breath, because you can't bring something new until you take out the old. So with every exhalation, we're moving negative emotion, byproducts of functioning, toxins that we absorb in the water, in the air, in the food, out of the body to keep our system clean, allowing space for the oxygen to come in. If we just focus on that full inhalation and we don't really make the exhalation the focus, we're not using our breath properly. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with people trying to teach breathing exercises is we don't know how to connect fully to that exhalation. And part of the reason is because the rib cage has folded in on top of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the foundation of your rib cage. So when we collapse into the core, as we do from unconscious posture over time, we can't really access the diaphragm properly. That's where the block comes in, because it creates the space. It removes the fat that's been sticking onto the bone, holding us in that incorrect alignment, so we can learn to access the diaphragm muscle.
And I'm saying yes because I'm experiencing that. I am going through a block therapy process right now, everyone. And let me tell you, the first time I did it, I was a hot mess. I asked Deanna, I said, am I doing it the right way? And if I am doing it the right way, that's good. But is there a wrong way to do it? If I was doing it the wrong way, would it still make the same impact? And she said, yes, of course, there's a correct positioning, like in anything. But doing anything at all with the block is better than doing nothing at all. And I have to tell you that I have had some major aha moments. Now, first of all, you guys know I preach holistic living. I'm a holistic living wellness coach. So I know a lot about this kind of stuff. But you know what they say about physician heal thyself. I have bad habits, okay? That's why I'm into this business, because I knew I had bad habits and I needed to correct them. And one of the things that, the reason why I got into this in the first place was because I had an anxiety disorder. I didn't have panic attacks. I would have this horrible feeling that when I woke up in the morning, going straight downhill on a roller coaster with no restraints, that's how I felt. And the only thing that would kind of help me was if I gave myself a cup of coffee. And that's why I started drinking coffee about 25 years ago. And I still have my coffee. I'm not a purist, but all things in moderation. But I knew that was not right. Anytime you're dependent upon a substance to make you feel a certain way, and you know that substance is not necessarily that great for you, you have an issue. So I decided to begin to explore what was going on with me. And of course, I did therapy and found out that my anxiety came from trying to control the outcome. And I was trying to control the outcome because of a a tragedy that I experienced. Basically, I had post-traumatic stress. So as I began to take a look at what I could change in my lifestyle to try to compensate for what I've been doing with emotional eating and some other things, that anxiety feeling began to go away. Well, fast forward now, it's 20-something years later, because I really don't have anxiety like I used to. But the last 2 months, I've had some anxiety in the mornings. I mean, just because of all the things that are going on in my life, all the things I'm trying to do in my business, my moving back and forth between California and Dallas. That's really interesting, going back and forth with that. 2 brand new grandchildren in 2015, 4 daughters in different phases of their lives in their late 20s and 30s. You know how crazy that time is. And, you know, I'm dealing with all of that, and this anxiety is coming back. Well, all of a sudden, introduced Deanna Hansen. Deanna calls me out of the blue from LinkedIn, I believe it was, and she had read about me and thought, for whatever reason, God bless her, that I would be somebody that would be interested in possibly sharing with all of you what the Black Mastery was. And so she began to tell me what it was, and I'm thinking to myself, this sounds crazy, but I'm going to try it anyway. So she sent me the information, and she sent me the blog. And, you know, do you have the blog in front of you so they can see what the blog looks like? I'm sure you have it right next to you. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, you know, I said, well, you know, if nothing else, I can order another one and use them as bookends. They're so pretty, you know. But I began to use this blog, and a couple of things happened. First of all, like I said, it hurt. But the other thing was, because I am a dancer, and because I do know about breathing and everything else, I began to understand the reason why I needed to make sure that I was breathing properly, because of what I was doing to myself as a result of tucking in all the time. My posture is pretty good. It's kind of slipped a little bit over the years and working on this, but I always realize it and I correct myself, you know, put it back up. But also what I do in the process of that is tuck in. I mean, when I get up in the morning, it's when you tuck in, okay? Working with the Block Mastery helped me to correct what tucking in does during the course of the day. And I have to say that I've been doing it for 21 days. I did the 21-day Block Mastery Challenge. It's awesome. All of you guys have to get it. I'm telling you right now, because one of the things that's happening is I'm not waking up with that anxiety anymore, because I'm working with my fascia. I'm working with the fascia, which is unblocking some of those emotions. My bowel movements are kind of more regular again. Although I drink lots of water and everything, my bowel movements still were kind of strange. So now whenever I am doing the Block Mastery, I can feel the bowels moving. And by the end of the day or that evening, you know, they move regularly, which is important. Don't want to be gross, but that's just important, you know. Detoxification at our age, for those of you who are 40 and over, I'm 59. So I don't want to be like my dad says, Lynnis, the worst thing in the world, he's 85. He's the worst thing in the world is to be old and constipated. So I'm almost old, but at least I'm not constipated because I'm using the Block Mastery. But the other thing that's really interesting is I always had a fat stomach. But I wanted to get into some definition of my stomach just because I'm vain. I don't know. It's something I wanted to do. And so the Black Mastery is beginning to help with that a little bit. And the thing that's so amazing is I read all about Deanna and, you know, about her products and fashion, all of that. I also read about her nephew. I don't know if you have a picture of your nephew or not, but his abs look like a costume. They don't look
here if you'd like to see his abs.
Yes, I would love to meet your nephew.
Here, just come here. Just show these.
Yeah. Now he is a bodybuilder, but he's not one that does. He doesn't do 500 sit-ups a day. He does not do that. Oh, wow, gorgeous one. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay, I'm gonna make him.
Great to meet
you. Is that okay? Are we being inappropriate?
No. I want them to see what the Black Mastery can do, and just so we know, do you do a lot of sit-ups and things like that?
No, not at all. I don't train my core like a typical person would. Ever since I started doing block therapy, I literally saw more definition. My intercostals, which are kind of like those rib muscles, my obliques, everything started to pop out and actually literally stand out more. And that's really because I believe we're melting through all that compression so that the muscle can actually show itself more fully. Right. So it's about melting through all of that compressed tissue and accessing the diaphragm to lengthen the core, which will create the smaller waist. Because we're putting the space back into ourselves that we have lost over time due to the unconscious posture and breathing.
Now, I know both of you have worked with women and men my age. I guess I'm 59, so I'm sure you have. Now, is it too late for someone like me or some others in terms of being able to get that definition back? Or
Oh, you know what? The nice thing about block therapy is it's never too late. In fact, on my YouTube channel, I have a beautiful video testimonial of Carolyn Harkins. At the time, she was 82 years old when she shared the video, and she was doing my advanced stuff and my intensives. So she was like doing high level stuff. And Quinn's grandpa is 85 years old, and he goes to his classes every week, and he's a phenomenal golfer, and he just loves it. He's so really, age is not a factor. In fact, I feel because of the way that the youth are growing up in front of technology, their tissue is actually older than ours. They're growing up denser.
Yes, because of what's
happening. So we have a lot of seniors that love block therapy. And I think part of the reason too is because this is about persuasion. This isn't forceful. You literally lie on the block. You don't have to put any physical effort into it. You can take it to different levels, but you can literally hang out on the block and get the benefit. So it's like the easiest thing to do. So, and you're in control, you know,
Thank you, nephew.
You're in control. You're guided through the process of, you know, how much pain you will allow yourself with your breath, and your breath is your guide through. So through every position that we do, there's different ways we can do it. If it hurts too much to be on a floor, you can start on a bed. And, you know, we always have other ways of working the block if something's too painful. So it's really nice because you become empowered to learn how to deal with your own health and the cause sites. This is a big part of it too. There's cause sites and pain sites. So, you know, if you go to a therapist for back pain, chances are they're going to work on your back, but that's the pain site. If I were to squeeze a balloon here, it's going to pop out over here, but this is what's causing the pressure. So if this is back pain, there's going to be an area that's compressed, and that's going to be in the front, in the groin, in the lower abdomen, in the adductors. So understanding what's causing the pain so that we can actually approach those cause sites is crucial in order to correct the alignment of the body and take that pain and stress away.
That's wonderful. And in fact, I was going to say it's fantastic for stress reduction. I was wondering, I know we're live and this is kind of impromptu, but do you think you could demonstrate one of the ways that you use the block? Is it possible? Can we see that?
Sure. I'm just going to take my computer over to the floor then. So the first position that I always have people do is the belly position. And the reason that we go there is because ultimately we want to optimize our breathing with everything that we do. So whether you're doing the 15-minute per day program or you're doing a 2-hour class, we always start with the block on the belly. So basically I put it right at the belly button height. So right here on my belly button. And then I literally am going to just lie on the block here. So if I'm in any kind of pain, I get to decide how much pressure I apply. I can stay up on my elbows so I can control the pain. I can come all the way down flat. I can do this on the bed if I want a little less pressure initially. And then as you're instructed, it's all about focusing on proper diaphragmatic breathing. So the block becomes the prop to teach you where to breathe from. Most people don't know where we should be breathing from, and some people can't even find that muscle because it's been blocked and lost for so long. So this really gives you that opportunity to find where the breath should be coming from and to create length and space in this area. So it's literally as simple as this. And we, as a minimum, we want to hold each position for 3 minutes because this is melting. We can't force melting. Can I get up now?
Yes, go ahead. I was gonna let you talk the whole time. I'm here looking at
because we can't rush melting. I like using the example. If I had an ice block with a butterfly in the center, and I took an ice pick to that ice block to get to that butterfly, I could damage a wing. You know, I'm being forceful and aggressive, yet if I put my hands on that ice block and I took my time to get to that butterfly, by the time I get to it, the butterfly is fully intact. Nothing's been damaged. So that's the nice thing about block therapy. We take our time with it, which also makes it safe, because unlike other activity where we might be going through aggressive, fast movements, with block therapy, everything is slow, safe, guided with your breath. So it's persuasive. It's very much the feminine principle. And that's why women initially are more attracted to this than men, because it is feminine in nature.
Right. And I was going to also say that for women in particular who are having some challenges, let's say with arthritis or joint pain, or, you know, limbs aren't and joints aren't as strong as they used to be, it's low impact.
Yes.
And it's very important as we age to honor our joints. You know, there's certain things we can do to make sure that we don't get to that point. But if you're just now beginning to take a look at things that you can do to get yourself back into shape and to get healthier, you want to try to find something that will give you those results but won't hurt you in the process in terms of injuring yourself.
Absolutely.
And but even though the block might be a little painful, you won't injure yourself in the same way that you would if you're doing jumping jacks and burpees, which is which is one of my guests who's a fitness person. She was talking about, you know, how those are the ultimate exercise. And I'm like, yeah, Betty, but not for this group. I don't know. I didn't do it in July, so I don't know if I'm going to do it now. But the whole idea is to be able to move in such a way where you're working with the fascia, you're getting some results in terms of your overall fitness, but also the thing that I also like is that it also addresses the mind-spirit thing. It's a continuum, mind, body, spirit, which you all know, that's my thing. I really do believe in order to be totally well, you have to address the needs of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And block mastery helps you to do that. That's what I really admire.
It does. And it's because, you know, we start communicating with the cell membranes that have been too far away from our conscious awareness. So we start hearing what our cells are saying. And when we're connecting to the diaphragmatic breath, that connects us to the moment. When we're breathing through the muscles of the upper chest, it connects us to a different brain pattern, which connects us to thoughts of past and future, which is where stress lives. It was Eckhart Tolle that, you know, said that breathing diaphragmatically connects us to God, which is in the moment. And you really find that this is a beautiful combination of therapy, exercise, and meditation, all built into one very simple to-do system that you get to do at home. And it's easy to take with you. You know, it's small enough. You can put it in your suitcase. You have your therapist with you 24/7 whenever you need it. And it's really the meditative component that gets people. I have many people saying they're addicted to the block because they get on it. It
does. Yeah, it does. And you know, you could do it at any time of day, but I've kind of incorporated it into my start your day in a positive way. I have my prayer time, my Bible study time, my meditation, my yoga, and I have my block mastery time and my quick walk outside. And then, you know, I always drink my lemon water first thing in the morning, and then I have my little, you know, green smoothie, and after that, my piece de la resistance, a little cup of coffee. What the heck?
I enjoy coffee too.
Yeah, that's how I start my day. Well, you know, I put coffee with a little bit of coconut oil. Great fat burner. Love that. Great energy. But the other thing, you keep talking about breathing, and I was wondering if you could clear something up for me because I might be confused. The kind of breathing you're talking about, can it be compared to what they talk about in yoga, belly breathing? It's the same kind of breathing?
Yes, it is. That's where that breath should be coming from. And, you know, when we take a full breath, we want to first bring it in through the belly. Then we want to integrate the lower ribs. And then if we're taking a really full breath, that's when we want to bring it up to the upper rib cage. But what's happening is most people are forgetting those first two phases. They're focusing only on breathing from those upper ribs. So it's not to say that we don't ever want to access those muscles, but that's for when we're doing strenuous work or when we're needing extra breath. When we're breathing simply in a relaxed way throughout our day, we really want to be focused on the belly moving in and out.
And I'm going to tell you, at first you do have to focus on it because it's a different way of breathing. It's not how we normally breathe because we've trained ourselves to breathe basically incorrectly. Yes. But when you can do that, it helps you with your focus overall. If you are a beginning meditator and you're thinking about all those random thoughts that are coming back and forth and you can't seem to get those thoughts out, I was told by someone who's a master meditator that it's not so much about trying to quiet those voices because they're going to come. It's about absolutely focusing on something else, whether it's an affirmation or scripture or the birds tweeting or your breath. And focusing on belly breathing while you're meditating is an excellent way to begin to perfect that way of breathing and also meditation. And it's not to say that you breathe that way all the time, but like, for instance, when I'm interviewing somebody, I focus on belly breathing because it helps me to focus on what they're saying and to be able to really tone in and tune on. It helps you with being present. And I think being present is so important when it comes to minimizing your stress. And it's definitely important when you're doing block mastery because you get that much benefit out of it. When you're present, really focusing on that moment in time, you get so much more out of that moment in time, so much more out of your life. I mean, you know, this whole summer, for the most part, I guess I haven't been present, because when we were trying to talk yesterday, my husband and I, about what's been going on, we couldn't remember what it was. And I thought, if we had been more present, focused on what we were doing, we would have had more fun. We would have, you know. So it's really a way of being. It's a way of life. The Block Mastery kind of ushers in that whole idea of thinking about, wait a minute, I want to slow things down. I want to really focus more on my breathing and being present and really kind of like showing up in my life, showing up in your life. And I really think that the Block Mastery helps us to do that. And the other thing I want to tell you all about this program, you get these awesome emails from Deanna for 21 days that gives you all kinds of tips that have to do with wellness in general. Like, for instance, I don't want to share all the tips because they have to get it, but here's one that's really good. I mean, you can tell them about the cellulite. We'll give this one to you for free, the cellulite, about that part. Because as I'm thinking about it, I have to fix that right now in terms of what you
Well, you know, it's interesting because fascia is this living organism that only wants the best for our body. So if we think of our body that way, then we can understand why change happens. So for example, we're like a building. You know, our body is like a building, and we should have certain foundations to support our structure so that every one of our 100 trillion cells can be properly aligned. But we don't use those foundations properly. We're dominant on one side, so we shift out of alignment, we collapse. You'll often notice people standing with their feet pointing outward like a duck. That's an indicator that the hip flexors have shortened. So I'm just gonna see if I can show you here. A very common way that people stand is over to one side, you know, shifting your weight to the leg that's less dominant to keep that right side, well, I'm right-handed, free for action. What happens though is the fascia is trying to keep us balanced. So literally the fascia is going to grip onto the bone to try to create stability. It's those grips that create the dimpling appearance that is cellulite. And so not only is it the appearance that becomes affected, that's also an indicator that here's a major block to blood and oxygen flow for any cell that's on the other side of that grip. So from a health perspective, cellulite isn't just about we don't like the look of it. It's really telling us that here's all these areas that are blocking blood and oxygen flow to cells. And the beautiful thing about the block is that the block sinks all the way to the bone to release that grip, which is why it gets rid of cellulite if we do it and we work it. But posturally speaking, when we're sitting or standing, we don't want to allow the body to fall back into that posture that's going to create those grips. We want to stay balanced and upright so we can prevent that accumulation. So when you're just sitting on your chair, as you know, many people probably spend at least 8 hours a day on a chair, you want to have your legs, your knees at a 90-degree angle with your feet put together. So if we have our feet tucked under the chair or we're slouching over to one side, that's the same as standing incorrectly where the fascia is going to grip and seal, creating cellulite. So we can prevent cellulite simply by understanding that how we sit and how we stand all day long is really why we get it. You know, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what causes what in the body. And really at the end of the day, the fascia is everything. If we have varicose veins, for example, it's because we've blocked off some of those roadways for blood and oxygen flow. So we're getting a ballooning effect. We're getting too much traffic down one route.
And I have to interrupt for 1 second just to point out something. I didn't start really having cellulite until I was about 52 or 53. And the reason why was because I have a virtual business. I'm on the computer all the time. And it's the way that I'm sitting. And I sit up straight, but it was the crossing of the legs. They're not keeping my feet together. And ever since I've been doing the Block Mastery and read those wonderful emails that you send us and your PDF that explains further, I am now correcting that. I haven't checked to see if it's made a difference yet, but I think it probably has, or if it hasn't, I know that it will.
Well, and there's just so many things that we can do that also add to that. So with the 21-day program, you get 3 15-minute per day, three positions a day. And really with that, I'm focusing on the core from the hip flexors up to your shoulders, because the most important thing is lifting that rib cage up and out of the way so that we can breathe properly. It's all about oxygen and blood flow. So that is key. But you also get my core, my pelvis, legs, and my head, neck, and arm 45-minute DVD, which covers sort of the whole body. So you're getting this whole body workout, and you're instructed on how to optimize that so that you can make the most out of it. And then these tips coming along the way give you postural things that you can just add into your day to make changes. So block therapy, there's 3 parts. It's about creating the space, which is what the block does, inflating the space, which is what the breath does, and then maintaining the space, which is what correcting our posture does. So when we can integrate all 3 of those things into our body, it's phenomenal. We don't let gravity guide our aging. We choose to age as we choose to, and go backward through time in that other way.
Right, that's right. And for those of you who are interested in finding out more about this block mastery and what it is and how it works, there's a couple of links on the site there. Click there and go to the site and find out more about this block mastery. I'm going to be writing some blogs about this block mastery. In fact, I'm going to be writing a blog right after this broadcast to talk about block mastery and what it's done in my life. And I'll be talking about this and blogging about this for the next couple of weeks, because I'm going to take myself through the other 21 days again and compare it, now that I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. And I'm just going to do it every 21 days. Just keep doing it until I get the results that I want. Let me ask you something else, because I know, like, for instance, your nephew, he said he's into building his body, but he doesn't necessarily do it in the traditional means. Where does strength training come in all of this? Do you do any strength training for your upper body at all? Do you ever work on that at all in that way?
Are you asking me or just Quinn?
Yes. Yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, I still work on patients. So I use my body in my job, but I don't go to the gym. I don't lift weights. I don't work out. I'm really, really strong. And it's because I've learned how to breathe. My body, what I can do at 47 with my body is pretty phenomenal. I'm hyper flexible. I'm very, very strong. And it's because of the breath. It's because I'm integrating all of my cells into what I'm doing, as opposed to 10 or 20% of the cells that we're using for force to lift, for example. So if we do a bicep curl in the gym, we're only strengthening in that range that we're lifting that weight. Where we want to be strong in every single range, in every single direction. We don't want to have any limitation or any cells blocked from oxygen and blood flow. We want to be able to use our whole body for movement, but we get caught in patterns of movement. Things that we do repetitively becomes the drawback, because we fall back in. If you're driving in a car and you're always slumping over to one side, leaning this way, that becomes your habit, and that becomes a gravity. And then that we keep getting pulled in there, and that's what we're fighting. So when we think, okay, I get tired trying to sit up straight, it's because the fascia is literally pulling you forward. They're called energy cysts. So the block undoes those energy cysts so that we can say, okay, I can actually sit up straight now and I don't have a sore back anymore. It's when we come forward and those muscles in the back are fighting that forward pull, that's why we get pain. That's why a disc can shoot out the back and the other way, because everything's getting pulled forward, and then there's an offset to that. So when we work the block in the core, in those cause sites, and create that proper postural alignment, take the stress off, the organs, the cells, the tissue, same as in the face. The third class, the head, neck, and arms, we get right into the face.
Yes.
So if aging is something that we want to prevent in how we look, we have grips of fascia on the bone here. So when we do the face work and we release that, it improves blood flow from the inside. It's wonderful to have, wonderful products to put on your face, but that's not where the aging's coming from.
No.
It's coming from the inside. And so the block really stimulates and cleans everything. It's all about proper flow. We want to have every roadway open and fluid and flowing so that whatever's coming in can leave. And we just keep the system nice and clean and light. And if we're breathing properly, it's like we're blowing up the cells like balloons. A balloon fully blown up defies gravity. There's no air in it. It falls to the earth. Same with our cells. The less we breathe, the heavier we get, the faster gravity manipulates and ages us. So when we can learn to tap on that proper breathing mechanism, we're a different animal. Our entire physiology changes from how we process stress, how we use our body physically, how we think. And it's really profound.
That's, okay, so I'm expecting within the next few months, people say that I don't look 59. I'm expecting to look like 40.
Well, you do look 40. So you're going to look 20.
I'm expecting to look 35 by the time I finish all this stuff and just be really, I'm taking pictures. I'm taking my first picture today. Okay, I'm going to stand up right now. Of course, now, when you're wearing beige, it makes you look bigger. but I don't care, okay? Now, remember, folks, they say the camera, I'm doing all these disclaimers. I have on beige, and the camera also adds 10 pounds. I'm saying it. Okay, this is how I am right now, okay? This is me right now. Let's see what I'm going to look like in 21 days. In 21 days, I'm going to come back on here, and we're going to see what I'm going to be looking like, and maybe we can get Deanna to come back real quick, and she can say yay or nay, I'm doing it right. What about that? I would love to do that. To be able
did you already mention that you've made some changes in the last 21 days?
Yes, I definitely have. The anxiety is gone. This is incorporated now in my daily process, and actually I do the block twice a day now. I do it in the morning, but I do it at night because I find it helps me to relax before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It does. It helps me to relax. So I'm becoming a block addiction person. I probably will find a way to do it in the middle of the day.
You know what? And the really cool thing is you can, if you're sitting in front of your computer or you're driving in a car a long distance, one of the most important postural exercises for our lower body foundation is to strengthen the adductor muscle. So when you're sitting, I just place the block literally between my thighs and I squeeze it. So that works those adductor muscles, which are key for proper pelvic alignment. And that is really where the core strength comes from. When we can keep those postural lower body muscles intact and aligned, then we have the space to properly breathe diaphragmatically. If we're falling out of balance from the lower body, that translates to what's going on above, and then we can't get that proper breath in. So that's just one of those really great additional things that you can do while you're working. So you don't have to take a lot of time out of your day. Even placing the block literally behind your back when you're sitting in a chair, that allows you to sit upright because now you're stabilizing the block as you're sitting there. So it's this reminder. We need these reminders because we forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we get caught up in our mind.
That's fantastic. Deanna, thank you for spending this time with us and sharing all your tips and for sharing your nephew and getting on the floor and doing all these, things live. I truly appreciate it. It's been wonderful. You have been a blessing that's been brought into my life. And I'm looking forward to hearing the testimonies of all of you. Once you've seen this video and you click on the link and check it out, I want you to join me on this 21-day challenge. In fact, when you decide to go onto the challenge, let me know. Send me pictures so I can find out what's going on. Let's stay in touch about this because we want this to be something that people all over the world can take advantage of and benefit from because it can really change your life. Thanks so much, Deanna, for being with us. And thank you to all of you who are listening on internet radio and watching on YouTube, Facebook, and all the different places where we run. It's wonderful to have you come every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. To listen to the Wellness Woman Show. It's been so great to have you. Thanks so much. I'm Lynnis with PraiseWorks. Thank you, Deanna. And also Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond e-magazine. I'll see you again real soon.